nice seats as well, but it can be a little bit bland inside, which is a little bit disappointing as a modeler when you're trying to get that visual kind of impact. But it is what it is. At the end of the day, a car's interior is a car interior. There's not much we can do about that. But like I say, a couple of light coats of each paint. I can get the coverage down on them. And the seats, again, in this beautiful black grey leather. Now, as you'll see, our paints do quite often drive a little bit of sheen on interior parts. So we will dual coat these later on, or you can use a flat matte coat of your own choice. But for me, I like Testa's dual coat because I still have a few bottles around. Now we're going to mask off the centre part of the seat. Very tedious, took a long time to do. Very carefully masking it with 1mm Azu masking tape. I've moved away from Tamiya masking tape on the thinner stuff because the last 3 rolls of the 1mm I've bought has not been cut evenly. So I'm pulling it off the reel and it hasn't got a straight edge. It's like been miscut. So I got about £10 worth of wasted tape and thought, yep, not buying any more of that. So whether they've had a bit of quality control or there's been an issue with machining, I don't know. But AZ tape is just as good a quality and it's a tad cheaper as well and comes in a multitude of other sizes. The Tamiya thin tape only comes in 1, 2 and 3mm. Azu comes in 0.4, 0.7, 1, 1.5, 2 and 2.5. So much more useful for masking jobs because you literally match the masking tape thickness to your requirements. Infilling these now with some Tamiya 6mm tape. There's the centre of our seats done. So we've got 2 front seats and the rear bench seat as well. Just some very careful masking here. And then we'll spray our other colour on top in a minute. And there we go. There's our 2 interior colours. So like I say, it does add a little bit of interest to it. A little bit more interesting. So this is the anthracite grey now. I'm pretty sure it was anthracite. I can't quite see the bottle label. And I'm quite a way ahead of my builds at the minute. We've already got the Honda NSX finished. And we've got the 62 Impala on the go. So sometimes the memory gets a little bit foggy sometimes. So apologies if I do forget. But I'm pretty sure that is the... it might just be the grey, actually. Thinking about it. I think that might just be one of our greys. I forget. I normally always flash the bottle at the camera, and I've forgotten on this instance. And that's why I do that, because I know sometimes I'll be a little bit hazy on the details, so apologies. But it is definitely Pro Scale Black Grey Primer and a lighter grey primer as well. Now, a new paint that I specifically developed for doing this kind of job. So we've got a hot metal range now of a red, blue, and a violet. This is the blue, and it can be used for exhaust heat staining, and also be used for anodizing. So over silver, the blue comes across as anodized blue. And if you look on the real car, it has anodized blue hubs behind the wheels. So perfect test piece for this. I did the staining on the RX-7, which you saw in the last video, and the FXK, I think it was. And this is the second use for it now. And with a circle template like this, you just get the hub in place and then a couple of light coats. And because it's a nice opaque metallic blue colour over silver, it gives that really nice anodized effect. So yeah, very useful paint. Decals on the brake calipers. Again, we didn't get any decals with these. Don't know why. So I've gone with Brembo yet again. This is the second Alpha Model kit in short succession that I've had no decals for the brake calipers, which is pretty inexcusable if you ask me, to be honest. But anyway. So normal decal procedure, get them off the backing paper, get them in place, all the moisture from behind them, and then hit them with your decal solutions of choice, which for me, as usual, will be the UMP Strong. So very delicate work of our tweezers. We can get them in place, make sure it's nice and straight, remove all the moisture, and then hit it with the decal solutions. We are going to clear coat these later on as well. So we have a nice gloss black brake caliper. And again, a little bit boring. I would have liked a nice flashy yellow or something on there, but true to the real car form. And like I say, some UMP Strong. We get our different water pen. Slightly thinner brush. There we go. And we'll just get all this set in place. Like so. And there we go. Let those dry, and then we can 2K it later on. There's a decal on the seat as well. So just get that in the appropriate position. You can see now we've masked it all. We've got the nice two-tone seat. And like I say, we're going to dual coat these in a bit to lose all that sheen and make it look a little bit more realistic. So it's not leather on these. It would actually be cloth on these cars. So we definitely want to get rid of that sheen. Photo-etch brake discs here now. So we're cutting all these off. So we clean them up like we did with all the other PE. Cut them off, then clean them up with the shears so they're nice and clean. And we're going to scuff them up with a UMP sander. So I'd much rather have carbon brakes. I think they look a lot more interesting on cars. But obviously, because of the age of this car, it wouldn't have had them. So using a UMP sander and some rotary sanding action there. Look at that action there. Beautiful. We can add a little bit of scuff into the brake disc and make it look a little bit less like new. And give just a bit more realism to it. There we go. We do that for each of those. And I have a few blobs of Tamiya craft on, which I think I've managed to stick most of it to the bench. Around the edge of the disc. We can then glue the photo etch in place. So these go front and rear, so make sure you get the right ones. Pop it in place. So fine, give it a little turn, spread the glue a bit. It does grab really well. The craft bond, it does have a bit of purchase to it. And then once that's all dry, we can hit it with a Tamiya panel line wash. They are slotted discs, so it will hold a wash. Just pop it on, let it dry, and then wipe off the excess later on. Nice and simple. And again, just adds a little bit of depth to the disc. Makes it look a little less monotone. Same with the seats as well. We've mixed up a nice dark grey mix, mixing black and grey together. I'm just going to apply it to all the recesses on the seats. And again, we'll let it dry, wipe it off, job done. Nice and simple. And again, it just adds a little bit of depth to the seats, makes them look a bit less of a monotone colour. Adds a little bit of realism to it. Like I say, the Tamiya panel line wash is enamel based, so it's ideal for this because it doesn't react with the lacquer. There we go. Same on the front seats as well. Literally, if it has a recess, it's getting washed. It's as simple as that. Especially when you've got a colour change like the front of the seats there, it'll help kind of combine the colours. And like I say, some Sansador from Winsor & Newton, odourless mineral spirits, which are going to gently rub away any excess wash. And it should leave us with a little bit of depth to the seats. There we go. You might find a pointed one a little bit better, just so you can get the nooks and crannies a little bit better. There we go. Definitely adds a bit of realism to the seat. And then once we get these flat coated, they'll look a lot better. So there we go. Combination of the cotton buds and some kitchen paper. Do the fronts and the backs, and they'll be all ready to go. Like I say, great stuff, the Tamiya panel line wash. It is a firm favourite of mine. I've had that one bottle of black for years. I couldn't even tell you how long I've had it, and it must have been used on hundreds of models. It's starting to get a little bit empty now. I could do with buying a new one. Sadly, it's not readily available in the UK, which is a real pain. But there we go. A little bit on the hub as well. Again, takes away that monotone look. The anodizing blue looks absolutely fantastic as well. And the same with the dashboard. We've washed all the dashboard as well. I'm just going to glue in place. Well, we are going to wash it in a minute. Sorry, I forgot. We're going to glue this piece in place first. So a little dab of CA glue to hold that panel in place. Then we've got our extra dials, which are in the glove box. I believe they are anyway. I think it drops down out the glove box. Quite an interesting dash on this one. It's actually quite busy. And then the door cards have this little centerpiece on each one, which is the same colour as the outer part of our seat. So again, has a little bit of visual interest in the interior. It's not as monotone as some of the more Japanese car interiors I've seen. And then we've got our door handles to glue in place as well. So a little dab of CA glue on these. There we go. And then just very carefully glue it in place. Like so. Get positioned properly. Not the best locating point on these doors. You kind of have to do it by eye. So just take your time. And here we go, we're on to the bodywork. So we've got our Trizac 6 and 8000 pads here. And you know the score with this now. We're going to go round and flat all the 2K. So this will do two things. Number one, it'll get rid of any imperfections. We can try and take care of that dust spot on the roof as good as we possibly can. And secondly, it will thin out the 2K a little bit. People often complain the 2K looks a little bit too thick. And I agree, if you don't sand it back, it does look too thick. But our Pro Scale, it dries super thin. It's by far one of the most out the kind of airbrush friendly 2Ks I've used. It dries nice and thin out the brush, but once it's flatted back and polished up, it gives it a much more realistic scale look. Now, a lot of people are always going to say, oh, it looks too shiny. In my opinion, you can't have a car too shiny. I've never washed and polished my real life car and thought it looks well too shiny. Let's throw a bucket of soil over it, make it look more real. So my goal with these is to make them as shiny as I possibly can, because if this was my car, I'd want this thing looking spotless. So that's what I'm going for. So 2K for me is by far the best clear coat, gives the best result, it's the most reliable, and it's the easiest to use. Out the airbrush, it looks fantastic. It sands back really well, especially with the Trizac pads, absolutely beautiful. And it polishes up absolutely stunning as well. In my opinion, there's nothing better to use on scale model cars, but everyone has their opinion and you're all entitled to them. I see quite a lot of models out there and think they're not shiny enough. So it's one of those things, isn't it? It's a matter of opinion. But for me, 2K is definitely the way to go. It's the best finish out the airbrush, and it sands and polishes up absolutely beautiful, as you can see here. So 6 and 8000 Trizac pads, just go around all the body and basically flatten it back. So go through both stages of those. As you can see, we end up with a nice flat body there. We've got our zoom on polishing pads here. So these are new in stock of Pro Scale as well. They're sold out at the minute, but I have a whole load of them due in at the end of the week. It is the 5th of March today, and I think they'll be with us by like the 8th. They shouldn't be too long. There's loads of them due in. And again, these are something I've not used before. I've used in the past and kind of dismissed them, but using them properly now with appropriate compounds, which is these men's earners, they work absolutely fantastic, and I regret not using them a long time ago. Not only are they a game changer in the way they work, they're a time saver as well. Absolutely brilliant. So come over to Pro Scale, have a look. We should have these in stock very soon. And these men's earner compounds you can get on Amazon. I use the 3500 and the 2500, and then the Autoglym Super Resin Polish as our final go over. So I rub it all in by finger first, and that way it doesn't fling everywhere all over my workspace. And then with the medium polish and spun on my Proxxon multi-tool on its lowest setting, I'm just going to go round and very carefully polish it all up. It's nice and easy to do. It's a lot quicker than doing it by hand, and I swore by doing it by hand for a long time, and I just thought, you know what, I'm going to try this, and this is an absolute game changer. It's so much faster. The result is a lot better as well. You just need to be careful. Now, obviously, 2K is a very resilient clear coat, but if you're not careful on the edges, it is easy to burn through. So just take your time. Keep the tool away from it as well. You don't want to be hitting the edge of that yellow on the paintwork, because it will chip the paint. So yeah, you need a little bit of control, a little bit of patience doing this, but I think the result is well worth it, and it's such a more efficient way of polishing the models. It really, really is. It's just quick, fast, and easy. And even just off this coarser compound at the beginning, use a nice clean piece of cotton. This will polish up to already quite a nice shine just off the coarse compound. So it shows you how effective it is. We're going to work our way through all the compounds from the coarser 2500 to the less coarse 3500, and then the final polish with the Autoglim Super Resin. And that way we should end up with a beautifully polished body. Like I say, even just now with this stage, it looks absolutely fantastic. The blue totally changed colour under the clear coat, become a lot darker. That metallic showing through, absolutely beautiful, and it just really is a stunning colour. Like I say, the real car that I based my build off was inspiration for this build. I just saw it and kind of fell in love with it and thought, yep, I got to buy that kit. And here we are now, and I've got my own miniature replica of it. So looking good. So again, now we're on to the side of the body. And again, just take your time. Just be careful of any corners or raised areas, because that's where you'll burn through the paint. The paint is always inherently thinner on raised areas or corners. So that's the places you'll burn through. So just go around those areas a bit quicker than you do on the flatter side. And I tend to do 2 passes. I go all the way around once, and I come back and go all the way around again. And I find that works best overall. So I was using my battery-powered drill for doing this, but it kept running out of charge. And to be honest, the Proxxon, it's on a foot pedal. It's so much easier to use. It's exactly the same RPM. And yeah, it's no real different than using the battery-powered one. And again, quick wipe off of the coarser 2500 Menzerner. You can see the shine we've already got, looking absolutely fantastic. So we're going to repeat this process with the 3500 using the red fine sponge, and then the Super Resin Polish from Autoglim again with a red sponge. And here we are. Bought a new airbrush. It's a very cheap, I forget the make now. I forget what it was. Anyway, it's a cheap 16 quid airbrush off Amazon, and all I'm using it for is blasting water through. I was using my Iwatas, but to take a lacquer airbrush and put water in it I was getting a bit paranoid I'd end up with water in there that would interfere with paint. I thought for £16, just cheap, nasty airbrush will do the job just fine. And you know what? It's not that bad for the money. I don't think I'd use it to actually paint, but for jet washing the bodies, it's perfect. You know, it's only ever going to get water through it. And to jet wash all the panel lines to get the dried polish and compounds out, it works absolutely perfect. So we cranked up our pressure on our compressor here. We've got an old toothbrush as well. So I tend to go around and soften it all up with one go. Then I get the toothbrush, which is a very, very soft bristle brush, and go around the body, just getting all the recesses, and then go around and blast it all again. And that tends to clean it up absolutely perfect. I love getting to this stage of the model. This always means I'm nearly at the end. This is kind of the point that's always holding me up, because I like to let my body sit for 7 days. So now after this, once I'm done, I can get all the windows taped up and painted black, get the interior painted black, and start with final assembly. So I do like getting to this stage. We can use just the air off the airbrush to help dry the model now as well, just blasting off all the water, both on the inside and the outside. And we can dry it off with some kitchen paper and give it a nice polish up with our nice fresh glasses cleaning cloth to see what we get. But you're not going to see that until part 3. We're going to leave that there today. So thanks for watching. As always, you'd like to get early access on all these videos. When you become a patron, you get a month's early access. You get a Saturday exclusive at the bench update. The applicable tier gets a 10% code off at Pro Scale Paint as well. And you also get to request builds and what have you, and added to a Facebook supporter chat. So we'll see you in part 3 very soon.